After an exciting win on Tuesday, the Tampa Bay Lightning return home to Amalie Arena for one of their biggest divisional tests of the season. And they might have a couple of players on pace for 100 points. We'll talk about all that and more on today's episode of Locked On Lightning.
You're Locked On Lightning, your daily podcast on the Tampa Bay Lightning, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Josh Sperber here, welcoming all of you into today's episode of Locked On Lightning. And I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Lightning your first listen every day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And if your team is the Tampa Bay Lightning, then this is the show for you. The Tampa Bay Lightning coming off of a Tuesday win to end what was tied for their longest losing streak of the season. Now they face the Boston Bruins. And I said in the intro that this might be the biggest game of the season so far for the Lightning. It's something that I've kind of hinted at over the past few weeks. And the biggest reason why remains the divisional battle. While the Bruins might not be favored to win the Atlantic Division in the Eastern Conference, they are currently one spot ahead of the Eastern Conference wild card leading Tampa Bay Lightning. A big benefit for the Lightning, though, they have 5 games in hand. The Bruins have played 43, the only team in the Atlantic Division to have reached the halfway point officially in terms of games played, with the exception of the Maple Leafs, who are at 42. The Bruins have played the most game in the division, 20-18-5 with 45 points. The Lightning, 21-15-2 with 44 points. Again, 1 point behind Boston in 5 fewer games. And this is a matchup that on paper you'd think favors the Lightning. And I'm not talking about going up and down the roster, because the Bruins certainly have some solid players. They still have some experienced leaders from their great teams in the mid-2000s. Elias Lindholm, a big pickup. Brad Marchand, David Pastrnak are still, two of the stronger players in the league. It's going to be a brother showdown between Morgan and Connor Geekie. I know that's going to be something that I'm excited to watch. Charlie McAvoy on the U.S. team in the Four Nations, along with Jake Gensel. Jeremy Swayman has been a solid goaltender this season. But the one big stat that stands out to me is the goal differential. The Tampa Bay Lightning have a goal differential of plus 33. That is 4th in the entire league, behind the Winnipeg Jets, Vegas Golden Knights, and Washington Capitals. The Bruins are among the league worst in goal differential at minus 24. The only teams with a worse goal differential are the Pittsburgh Penguins, Nashville Predators, Chicago Blackhawks, and San Jose Sharks. So both teams at opposite ends of that goal differential spectrum. And what that tells me is that the Bruins just need some help on defense. And especially against the Tampa Bay Lightning, no matter how good your defense is, you're still going to need help, because the Lightning just have so many strong players on offense. Jake Gensel and Braden Point have both had a hand in the majority of the Lightning goals over the month of January so far to start out the season. Gensel and Point each with a goal and 2 assists in the 4 games. Brandon Hagel and Nikita Kucherov, as well as Darren Radish, each have 2 points, with Radish dishing out assists on the first 2 goals in Lightning's Tuesday victory on that game, a 3-2 win, courtesy of Braden Point. So the brother matchup between Connor and Morgan, though, is interesting. I'm curious to see how often they'll really be playing against each other. Geekie has been switched around the lines before, but he really seems to have found a home with that second line, acting as the right wing, with the power combination of Anthony Cirelli and Brandon Hagel in the middle at center, and on the left wing. I like that line. I'd like to see. I'd like to just see, maybe a brother fight, some brother hit. No, but no, that's certainly going to be an interesting aspect of it. But there's obviously just a whole lot more players in this game, and this is when you look at the Lightning schedule over the course of this month. This is really the first big divisional test of the new year as we approach the second half of the season. And it's not the only divisional team they play this month. They've got the Canadiens again, who the Lightning certainly want some revenge against. They're going into Toronto that Canadian road trip back-to-back on the 20th and 21st when they face the Maple Leafs before the Canadiens. They've got a home and an away game against the Detroit Red Wings as well, who are starting to heat up a little bit. So, I mean, you can't take any of these divisional games for granted, but I mean, I feel like I've said this a lot, but this is a must-win game, period, for the Tampa Bay Lightning. A win here against the Bruins, against the team that is 1 point ahead of you in the standings. You don't want to wait for the games to balance out. You don't want the Lightning to lose 4 games, and then on the 5th day, they win, the Bruins lose, the Lightning get back ahead of the Bruins. This is a game that you can take control of your divisional destiny if you're the Tampa Bay Lightning. So you're going to have to do that by beating these Boston Bruins. And I think the Lightning need to take advantage of the fact that the Bruins just haven't been great defensively. The one big advantage for the Bruins, though, is on faceoff. They're 6th in the league, winning 52% of their faceoff. The Lightning are coming off of about a 60-40 split against Tampa. Carolina won the majority of the faceoffs back on Tuesday. The Lightning are 17th in faceoff percentage, just over 50%. 29th in goals for per game are the Bruins, and 20th in goals allowed per game. Meanwhile, the Lightning second most in the league in terms of goals per game, and 10th in the league in terms of goals allowed per game at 2.79. The Bruins allow more goals on average than they let up, and their power play is among the worst in the league. 12.4% conversion rate on power plays for Boston, while the Lightning are in 4th place in the league at 26.5. Their penalty kill isn't much better. 79.9% of the time, the Bruins successfully kill penalties. That is good for 25th in the NHL. So it's like I was saying about Carolina. They got their power play goal. Nick Paul gave the Lightning a quick lead, and they're going to have to maximize the power play opportunities again. I feel like that's a very easy thing to say. You know, obviously when there's a power play, you're going to want to score on it. When you have a man advantage, you want to take advantage of it. And that's something the Lightning have been able to do fairly well over the course of the season. But in a game like this, any mistakes that the opponent makes, you want to capitalize on. And I think the Lightning can do that. They did that with Nick Paul at the very end of the power play. So that still counts. Still got their power play goal. I'd like to see another power play goal for the Lightning because I think that can really help them set the difference. But I think the Bruins are maybe looked at a little differently because they were the first team to let their coach go months ago too. So a pretty shock firing of their head coach, especially considering that they're in playoff position in the Atlantic Division right now. Right now they're in 3rd place, as I previously mentioned. They're 1 point ahead of the Lightning. The Ottawa Senators and Montreal Canadiens each have 41 points. The Sens have a game in hand, so they are in 5th place in the Atlantic Division, within striking distance of both the Lightning and the Bruins. And that right there is another reason why I just think the Lightning have to win this game. A loss here, especially coming off of a big win where it was just one of those grinded out games. There were moments where it seemed like, hope was lost and not necessarily throwing in the towel, but you let up 2 equalizing goals. The Lightning did, and that's not always easy to recover from, especially against a good team like the Carolina Hurricanes, one of the small handful of 50-point teams in the entire NHL at the midway point of the season. The Lightning were able to bounce back. They were able to utilize their home ice advantage and just put on a great show in front of their home crowd. Nick Paul said it was one of the most complete games they've played all season, played a full 60 minutes, and they're going to need to do the same against the Bruins. They cannot let up for a single second. I don't care if it's 5-0. Lightning, I think, need to get out to a hot start and just keep their foot on the gas and try to stay ahead of the Boston Bruins. Again, seems self-explanatory, seems simple, but a lot can happen in NHL hockey. We will likely see Andrei Vasilevskiy in net. The goalie management is something that is definitely going to come into play this weekend when the Lightning have back-to-back games against the Devils and the Penguins on Saturday and Sunday before ending their road trip in Boston again against the Bruins. But Lightning are going to have to take a victory here. I do expect them to do that, but I think it's going to be close. I'm saying 4-2 Bolts with an empty netter tacking on for that fourth goal. If you guys have any predictions on the scores, any just general thoughts on the game, feel free to message us on X at LO_Lightning, and we might feature your message or comment in a show. You can also comment on our posts or on the YouTube video below. Please give us a subscription as well. But one thing that we can all subscribe to is the Stadium Series coming to Tampa next year. And we're going to break down what that means and whether or not it is a good idea to put an outdoor ice hockey game in a hot state like Florida. I love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, or comedy. One of my favorite memories was attending a Morgan Wallen concert last year. The energy and excitement were just unforgettable, and I got my tickets to that show on Game Time. Now Game Time has made it even easier to get tickets for your favorite events with their new feature, Game Time Picks. This feature filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Recently, I was looking for tickets to a Brooklyn Nets game when they were going to face Orlando using the Game Time app. With Game Time Fix, I found amazing deals and could even see the view from my seat before buying. The super deal was particularly impressive, offering great seats at unbeatable prices. And the app's all-in pricing shows the total cost up front with no surprise fees at checkout, unlike some of the other ticket services that I've used in the past. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply, but create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNHL below, spelled LOCKED and ONNHL. That's LOCKEDONNHL, and you'll get $20 off of your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Josh Sperber back with you, talking about the Stadium Series, and both outdoor games next season will be played in the state of Florida. It is Panthers-Rangers for the Winter Classic in January 2026. 1 month later, at Raymond James Stadium in the great city of Tampa Bay, the Tampa Bay Lightning will be on the Stadium Series, and it is going to be a rare glimpse of outdoor hockey in the state of Florida. Coincidentally enough, the same team the Lightning are playing later today will be the team they play in a little over a year, the Boston Bruins, again, outside at Raymond James Stadium. Now, when I first heard the news, I was honestly pretty surprised. Happy, but surprised, because the Lightning sell out Amalie Arena at about a 20,000 seat capacity. Raymond James is, I think, 4 times that. There's something like 80,000 people that could fit in that stadium. It's a massive stadium, and I think the Tampa Bay Lightning can do a really good job of packing it. And just, the way that this area of Florida works, there are plenty of people from Boston who live around here. So it'll be a good mix of both fans, and I think it's going to be an absolutely great thing for the sport. I think the only concern I have is just outdoor hockey in a part of the country where in February it's not usually below freezing. It's usually well above freezing. I certainly expect to be 60-something degrees. I'm sure the NHL has measures for that because I know it hasn't been freezing weather every single Winter Classic or Stadium Series game or anything like that, but it just makes it a little bit more complicated in the state of Florida. And a lot of things that I was reading about this today was people just upset that there is not going to be a rivalry game. I saw some tweet that said something about how the NHL just blew it because they could have had one of these Stadium Series games between the Lightning and the Panthers, a big rivalry. And I know some Lightning fans that I talked to even said that it should be switched around. The Panthers are scheduled to play the Rangers in the Winter Classic. Rangers have been a common opponent of the Lightning in their deep playoff runs. And the Panthers and Bruins have had some serious playoff battles in recent memory as well. So some people think that the NHL may have messed up on that. I personally don't think the matchups are really what's important. I think that a Lightning Rangers game and a Lightning Bruins game would do just as well outside in a massive stadium like Raymond James. It might not be a sellout, but Lightning fans are certainly to come in droves. I think everyone that I know seemingly in Tampa is already talking about getting their tickets and going to that game next year. So people are already buzzing about it. Just there are some people that thought that it would be Lightning versus Panthers. Maybe doing a home and home. I don't really know how they would have expected to do it, but I honestly kind of like that they're both in Florida. It kind of connects the Winter Classic and the Stadium Series, as part of the season, as just, important special games that you frankly don't see all that much. I mean, not often that you see outdoor hockey anymore. And I think it's going to be really cool in a city that has a state really that has massively grown its hockey fan base. I mean, both the Lightning and Panthers combined I think are less than 100 years old. These are two relatively young franchise who especially recently have started picking up more success as a respective organization, a bigger following, a bigger fan base. I mean, take your pick. Florida has really embraced hockey, which certainly surprised me because, again, Florida, you think of summer weather, beach weather, outdoor sports, and not a sport that's meant to be played in significantly colder temperatures. But the state of Florida has embraced hockey. I'm going to be biased and say Tampa has done so more than Miami. If you're a Panthers fan, we can fight about it in the comments. But I think that it's good for the NHL to kind of link those games up and have them in similar parts of the country, have two different rival teams host some of the most highly anticipated games of the season. I think I'd rather have the Lightning have the Winter Classic because I feel like the branding for that might be just a little bit bigger. But I think an outdoor game in Tampa is going to be really cool for the city. It's going to make all the pregame festivities a whole lot more fun because not everyone's going to be miserable in winter weather in those gigantic puffy coats. You might have a light jacket on if you're attending the game, but again, the weather's warmer, and I think that it's going to make things more interesting. It's going to make it, I think, better for the players too, because it's not going to be a huge drop off from the indoor temperatures of the hockey arenas that they're used to playing in. Just, something's going to have to happen. And it would be nice to see a Lightning versus Panthers game. I always like seeing rivalry games in the Winter Classic. It's good to play teams in close proximity, but I think honestly it's better to have both Florida teams in what I believe is their first time hosting an outdoor hockey game for the NHL. I think it's good to have both the Florida teams represented because it's different enough. Miami's a 4-hour drive from here in Tampa. It's different enough. It's two cities far enough away from each other that it's not like the NHL is doing one Winter Classic game at, Yankee Stadium and the other one at Citi Field or MetLife or whatever it is when it's just two of like the exact same teams. It's two teams in quite different cities, despite the fact that they're in the same state, and two teams with, budding fan bases, two teams with really good atmospheres, and two teams that have enjoyed a lot of success hosting these and against teams that they might see in the playoffs. And in the Lightning's case, a battle that could be a decisive divisional battle between the Lightning and the Bruins. So I think, the only thing I'm really concerned about is just the science of keeping the ice cool in potentially 60-plus degree weather. I mean, there have been days in February here in the Tampa Bay area where it's been 70-plus degrees and sometimes even hotter. So I'm curious to see how the warmer outside weather affects the ice and everything in the Winter Classic. I know there are memes talking about how it's just going to be everybody swimming. I've seen so many of those. I think the Panthers did an announcement video where they're literally playing hockey on the sand and, you drop the puck, it doesn't move, it just falls right in the sand. Obviously, they're not going to play the Winter Classic on sand there, but you get the point, a little beachy vibe. And I think it's going to be a big thing for the city. And I think it's something that can really elevate the status of both of these franchises, especially the Lightning, because I don't know as much about the Panthers in terms of the fan base, and I can't tell you I know exactly how big the Dolphins stadium is, but I think Raymond James would be big at hosting a Lightning game because even when there's a smaller crowd at Amalie Arena, it still sounds sold out, and it still feels like it's a sold out atmosphere of 20,000 plus screaming fans cheering on the Tampa Bay Lightning. And to hear that at Raymond James Stadium, maybe even getting those cannons from the Bucks pirate ship up there involved, as long as it doesn't crack the ice. I mean, it could be a lot of fun. I think there are a lot of different things that the Lightning as a team can do to this to really engage, the local Floridians and the community. when they play outside. But I think it's definitely innovative. It's definitely a new idea, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun for the Lightning and for the city of Tampa. And the Tampa Bay Lightning, I think, will increase their fun if they get a win over Boston, and maybe a couple more points for some of their big stars. Nikita Kucherov tends to be a lock for a 100-point season, but there are a couple other bolts that are knocking on that triple-digit door when it comes to points. We will talk about who those players are when we return. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Yeah, you heard that. That was $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same-game parlays, and so much more. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $200 in bonus bets. That is FanDuel.com. Make sure to make an account and join today. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And the Tampa Bay Lightning, after being underdogs against Carolina, they are the favorites against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Fans have them picked 71% of the time on FanDuel. The Bruins are underdogs by a goal and a half, and the Lightning have an over-under of 5.5 to cover the spread. So if you want to bet on the Lightning game, they are favorites, but I still think it's a safe bet. So, which Lightning players can reach 1,000 points this season? The easiest answer to that question is Nikita Kucherov. Well under the halfway point of the season, Kucherov has 17 goals, a team best 39 assists, and a team best 56 points. That puts him among the league leaders. He, I think, is a shoo-in, coming off an 144-point season. It's his third 100-point season of his NHL career. And Kucherov with 100 points in each of the last two seasons. It was his fourth 100-point season, with over 100 in each of the last 2 years. And I think if Kucherov can stay healthy, has missed a couple of games for injuries. If he can stay healthy, I think he is just an automatic lock to break that 100-point barrier again. And the way Kucherov is going, he might even get 100 points just in assists. I think that's a little bit less likely. The 100 assist mark last year, certainly an incredible feat. But I don't know if he's going to get those same 100 assists this year, though I think it's a certain possibility. He's not on track for it right now with 39, averaging an assist a game almost in 36 games played for Kucherov. So, it might not be a 100 assist mark, but I think in a combination between points and assists, there is no doubt in my mind that Nikita Kucherov is going to have a third straight 100-point season, which is a different kind of ridiculous. But there are certainly other players, I think, that can challenge for that. One that I am just going to say right now that we're going to see a 100-point season from is Braden Point. He is someone who is scoring goals at an exceptional rate right now, among the league leaders, and he's even tracking to break his career stats in assists as well. Through 34 games, again, a few missed for injuries for Braden, he's got 46 points, 24 goals, tied for second in the league, and 22 assists. He reached 50 goals once. That was back when he played the full season in 22-23. Those 51 career goals were a career high. He reached 51 assists once back in 2018-2019 when he scored his second highest career total of 92 points. That 2022-23 season, his highest at 95. I think he's going to break that this season. By the way the point is going right now, if he stays at just the same rate of getting points, he is projected to reach 105 by the end of the season. And it could even be more than that. I mean, he's someone who can score in bunches. The first game he came back after he was injured, he scored the opening goal for the Lightning and the game winner in overtime for the Lightning as well. 6 game-winning goals. That's more than almost the rest of the team combined. Only Kucherov has multiple game-winning goals, aside from Braden Point with 4. He's just come in so clutch for the Lightning, and especially after moving on from Stamkos, Point has really become their top scoring option. Nikita Kucherov is the field general. He is He directs traffic. He sends passes to everyone. And as Braden Point says, even when he doesn't see you, he sees you. He has just that kind of insane vision that he's really the quarterback of the Tampa Bay Lightning offense. And Braden Point is his number one receiver. 24 goals. Only Leon Draisaitl has more right now as he is pushing 30. But, I think that is an obstacle that could fall for Point as well. He's certainly going to be in contention for the Rocket Richard race, and he's been passing at a great level as well. 24 goals, 22 assists at this point in the season is just a really solid first half so far for Point, and he's really cemented his status as one of, if not the best players in the entire league. Certainly one of the league's superstars, certainly one of the best offensive talents in the entire NHL, and a guy who might be sitting on top of the goal list when it's all said and done. Now, there are two other players who by their point total right now have an outside shot at 100. I think, again, Kucherov, a shoo-in. He's going to get 100 points by the end of the year. Point, it's not a shoo-in, but he's on the right track. And if he stays healthy, if he keeps playing at the elite level that he's playing at right now, it's a definite possibility. And it's one that I feel confident enough to predict that Point is going to get his first career 100-point season. And there might be two others who are on pace to shatter their own career highs, Brandon Hagel and Jake Guentzel. Between those two, even though with one more game played, Hagel has 3 more points than his left-wing counterpart in Guentzel. But I think just the simple fact that Guentzel is typically on the ice more than Hagel is might allow him a better shot at getting to that 100-point mark. The only thing that is really holding Hagel back from being a shoo-in for 100 points is the fact that he is simply not on the Lightning's first line. He's coming off his 2 best seasons in terms of points, and he is on pace to beat both of those. In 82 games last year, 26 goals, 49 assists, his highest assist total, second highest goal total. He needs 9 goals to beat that record and a total of 13 by the end of the season to set a career high in goals. He needs 25 more assists to beat his record of 49 set last year. I don't think Hagel is going to get to 100 points on the season. I think he's going to be in the mid to high 80s. Because, especially once game gets more important, we might see more and more first line play, considering the Lightning have the best first line in hockey. Point, Kucherov, Guentzel. I mean, I don't think there's a line one of forwards that can compete with that. And Guentzel being on that line, having Nikita Kucherov, who probably is the best passer in the entire NHL, feeding him, and just the chemistry on that line with all 3 of them works so well. And Guentzel's ability to just create space and find little nooks and crannies to get in. I think that he's going to need some more big runs. And that's the thing. Guentzel has really, he's helped spread the puck around. He typically gets like a goal and assist a game. Haven't seen too many multi-point games from him so far this season, and that's where I think he could fall short. The Lightning do spread the puck around really well. John Cooper switches up the lines pretty frequently and really gets everyone a good chance to get some serious minutes. And though those minutes certainly favor line 1 and line 2, there might simply not be enough time for Guentzel to collect all those extra points. Plus, he's got Braden Point, who can scoop up any miss and put it in the net that can help him out, and Nikita Kucherov, who can find players in places that no one else can even really see what could unfold, and that can certainly help Guentzel. That being said, I think he's going to fall just short too. I'm giving Guentzel a 90-point season. By the way that he's going, I'm giving Hagel a career high in 85, but I do think that the Lightning are going to have 2 100-point scorers this season, with Nikita Kucherov leading the way and maybe even winning his second straight Art Ross trophy, and Braden Point getting his first career 50-goal season and getting pretty close to 100 points. I think the Lightning will have 2 100-point scorers this year. Funnily enough, one of them with the last name Point. But that is the last point that I will make on today's show. Josh Sperber, once again, thanking all of you for making Locked On Lightning your first listen today. Please give us a follow, a like, and subscribe on whatever service that you listen on. We really do appreciate your support. But for your second listen, make sure to find Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Become a fantasy hockey expert and get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from Steal and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. And once again, please give us a follow. Please give us a subscription, a like, even just a fun comment if you want to interact with us. Our DMs are open at LO_Lightning on X. Please give us a follow there as well for additional Lightning content. But until tomorrow, thank you all once again for tuning in. I'm Josh Sperber, and please enjoy the rest of your week.